Ahoy and good morning. It's Jeff, aka Godless Scammer. I see there's only one person watching at the moment, but welcome to this impromptu little stream I'm doing, which probably won't be going for too long. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I don't I don't think this will be a long one at all. And I invite you here to watch me destroy my channel. And piss off all my subscribers in one foul swoop. So you're getting to witness a tiny little bit of YouTube history here today, okay? That, I feel privileged to be watching this, Right, that's always typical. Something unwanted pops up on my screen whilst I'm completely trying to do something. So, let's bring up this tweet, okay? And I'm going to show you why. I'm going to tell you why I'm going to be pissing off everyone. Yeah, you will. I can see you are, Rev. Good to see you, mate. Okie dokie. Okie doke. Right, this is a tweet. It's a few people have responded to this. Matt Dillahunty. That's Matt of Atheist Experience fame. Kind of sometimes called the Pope of Atheism. Here, a powerful figure. And I'm going to. It's a long old thread that started with something I think V tweeted, but it's gone on for like ages. But there's a tweet he made the other day. And it says this: the null hypothesis is that no God exists. There is only theism and atheism. You are either convinced or not, period. Agnostic isn't some middle ground. It's about knowledge, which is a subset of belief, not a third option that violates excluded middle. And I'm not going to break down necessarily everything he said in that tweet, but say there's only theism and atheism, I don't think is right. And the null hypothesis, I'm sorry, Matt is plain out fucking wrong on this. Yes, I said it. Dillahunty is completely fucking wrong on this. Now, and what else he said? Agnostic isn't some middle ground. Agnostic's a thing, Matt. Okay, I invite you to go and read some of the actual. I would invite Dillahunty to go and read some of the actual academic literature that's online on there. I did a series where I was reading out the article on atheism and agnosticism from Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Agnosticism is a thing, Matt. I'm sorry if that pisses you off, but it is a thing. Knowledge is a subset of belief. Yeah, that's true. That's true enough, but it's a bit over the place, this tweet. But I'm going to just sort of focus on one element. That null hypothesis is that no God exists, or that atheism is a null hypothesis. Well, that's wrong. Okay, that's just wrong to me, because I'll give you a definition of a null hypothesis. A statistical hypothesis to be tested and accepted or rejected in favor of an alternative. So it's very much a scientific term. It's a scientific term, okay? It's not the question on whether or not God exists. It's quite frankly is more in the realm of philosophy. It is more of a philosophical question, and the thing with a null hypothesis is, there has to be an element of falsifiability here. Well, how can you falsify God? I'm sorry, how can you do that? So clearly the term null hypothesis is not fit. It's just wrong for that. It is just wrong to say no God exists, or that atheism is a null hypothesis. Now I put a link in the description to a short video from Answers in Reason, and I feel it's only fair where Joe just goes through this in a nice 5-minute little short video on the null hypothesis, which is very good, very informative, straight to the point. And I've got to give Answers and Reason a shout out here, because probably a lot of what I'm about to say is pretty much is pretty much going to be stolen, outright plagiarized from Dave and Joe and all those guys. So it's only fair to shout them out. And yeah, Rev says Matt wants null hypothesis to represent default human factory settings. Exactly, he does indeed. But maybe then, just the term null hypothesis is wrong. Maybe the biggest charity you could possibly grant him is that he could have meant to have said default position instead. Okay. Some people get these two things kind of confused at times. Now, I don't think that is the case with Matt, because Matt Dillahunty is not a dumb guy, and I'll say that because we know this. Dillahunty is not a dumb guy. I think he knows better. This is what is kind of bothers me with this. I think Matt absolutely knows better. But let's say though, maybe we can argue that maybe atheism is the default position. And okay, I am going to be relying a bit on article from Answers and Reason on this. I'm also going to breed out of this. This is a brilliant little book. If anyone hasn't got it. You just want an introduction to sort of atheism and the philosophical. So this is Graham Oppy's Atheism, the Basics. So I'll read out something on that from that a bit later, where he addresses is atheism the default position. So there's, as Dave says in this, you often hear that atheism is the default position or the default state sometimes, which is a false dichotomy is created, saying everything is, not a theist. Everything that's not theist is atheist. And obviously, there's certain people that use this. Aaron Ross, another one who likes to sort of put everything into those, characteristics. If you're arguing for atheism being a sort of psychological state, now I don't, people know I don't argue that. I am very much of the position that this is atheism is a proposition on the, this is the proposition that no gods exist. I hold the position that no gods exist. I have said plenty and plenty of times that is a belief position, and that is my belief. And I've sometimes even wondered whether I'm justified in that. This is why I'm starting to read a lot of this stuff. And I just don't, and as I've said plenty of times, listen, if you just want to use this lack of belief thing, knock yourself out. I don't care. Please knock yourself out, but don't sort of come in making arguments that we've got to use that atheism is this and what, atheism is polysemous, and so is agnostic as well. Those words, they have different meanings. It's very simple. And as I said, I don't really know much about philosophy, but this is fucking basic shit here. This is fucking basic. So let's go on here. I mean, because, and I said one of my big problems with the whole, psychological state is we get into things like, rocks are atheists and rocks are vegans and whatever. Well, I'd say the rocks are vegans is more, that's something Trolley Dave uses as a sort of to show up that why the rocks are atheists argument is a bad one. And I've got to admit, yeah, that's another thing I'm happy to steal from Trolley Dave, but I will give him credit for it. I use that myself, but I will give him credit for that. So, I mean, really, is it a default position? And I think, there is a problem with it to me about if it's a default position, then there's an issue with rationality here, because that's and again, as Dave writes here, rationality is complex and can be described as reasoning using the rules of logic and probability theory. We'd also say, for example, holding, coherent and consistent beliefs are things that make you rational. So if atheism is a default position, it's not a reasoned position. Therefore, atheism is not rational, or at best, irrational. So you see the problems we kind of set up for ourselves here if you're going to argue that it's a default position. And that's that's kind of that's kind of what it comes down to. Either atheism is a default position or default state, or it's a rational position, but it kind of can't be both. And it's there's some issues. You see why I've got issues with this, and I'm going to do now. I'm going to read out a something from Graham Oppy, okay, and sort of supply this. Now, Graham Oppy is an Australian philosopher who happens to be an atheist, so I don't want to hear any more of this. I don't really want to hear about how, a lot of this stuff is about taking. I get tired of hearing that, we use from the atheist activism, using the argument that we've got to take these terms away from this, Christian sort of cabal or whatever that's running academia. No, it's just wrong. It's just, I think this could be a bit of an issue when I feel that atheism becomes identity politics, and I understand why it is for some people, because especially with some people, it really, some people are not in the sort of the position we're in the UK, where it's not a big deal being an atheist, but it can be a big deal elsewhere. It's something that can be count against you, and there's some countries where it is out and out, illegal. It's against the law to profess atheism. So Graham Oppy, some atheists claims that there is an initial presumption in favour of atheism. Before we turn to consider data, we should suppose that there are no gods. Some atheists claim that there is a burden of proof that falls on theists, unless theists can point to sufficient reasons, compelling evidence, cogent arguments that support the claim that there are gods. Theists have no entitlement to that belief, but atheists are under no corresponding obligation to point to sufficient reasons, evidence, arguments that support the claim that there are no gods. Sometimes it is said that what is true for the idea that there are gods is true for the existence claims in general. There is an initial presumption against all existence claims, i.e., claims of the form there are F's, and a burden of proof that falls upon those who wish to defend existence claims. All of these claims are mistaken. In 6.4, that's just the preceding, thing to what I'm reading here. When we assess the comparative theoretical values of best consistent big pictures, we are interested in the trade-offs that they make between minimalization of theoretical commitments and maximalization of explanatory breadth and depth. While the claim means that we are interested in the minimization of theoretical commitments, and in particular that we are interested in the minimizing of the number of claims of the form there are, that we accept, we are also interested in the maximization of explanatory breadth and depth. Moreover, that we really want to do, what we want to do is make the best trade-off between minimalization of theoretical commitments and maximalization of explanatory breadth and depth. There's nothing in this methodological framework that says of particular claims of the form that of F's that they're prior to consideration to the total relevant data. We should expect that they do, or that they do not belong to the very best consistent big pictures. There are no initial presumption against existence claims. We can be sure that in advance of consideration of data, that the very best consistent big pictures will include lots of existence claims. Moreover, there is no burden of proof that falls asymmetrically upon those who accept certain claims, rather no matter rather no matter which consistent big picture we favour, we are all subject to obligation to make the best trade-off between minimalisation of theoretical commitment and maximisation of explanatory breadth and depth. Okay, so this, you see, there's some issues with this being a default position as well. I'm just going to see what. Sorry about that. I'm just going to check up with the chat here. Hi, Mark, Gary, Mystique, Tina, Brilliant. Good to see you guys. So I haven't really been because I was reading that. I'm, so, and what Mark says, I think I'll believe. I should highlight your comment when I'm going to read it out. I think our beliefs are formed from what we experience. Mostly, I guess you would form beliefs without evidence. You could form beliefs. Yeah, you can do. It can be an intuitive thing or whatever. Says Martel says, I don't believe in God. I am an atheist. If people want to call me unreasoned, knock themselves out, I still don't believe in God. They need to convince me otherwise to change my mind. I don't know if that's what you caught what I was actually saying there. It is. I'm not saying. I'm not saying atheist. I mean, I'm an atheist myself. Why would I say it's an unrational? It's an unreasonable position. This is the problem with this. If we're going to argue that it's a default position or a default state, then to then say it's a position that you've come to via reason. It's there's a logical contradiction there, and this is perhaps where I have the problem with. No, I won't get blocked, but we've been through that before. I mean, it's the Rocks are Atheist things does sort of, I suppose, does somewhat link to this, because as we're arguing, if you're saying it's a default state and it's like a default or a psychological state, and you put everything into two camps of being theist or atheist, that's kind of where you get to things like Rocks are Atheist or the other ones you hear is babies are atheists. Now, when it comes to babies, I tend to go with Oppie again and say that actually they're innocent of the proposition of whether God exists or God exists or God does not exist. Yeah, I agree with that, Gary. I think you've got to have the ability, or you have to be at least cognitively able to assess the proposition. And this is why I like what Trolley Dave sometimes does with this, is he puts this argument, says, well, by the same logic, we can argue that rocks are vegans. They don't have the property of eating meat. Therefore, everything is either a vegan or or a meat eater or whatever. So you can get to it by the same. You can get to it by that. You can use the same logic to come to that position. Really, I do as well. I'm going to say now, honestly, I think a lot more atheists would do better if they read more Oppie and listened to less Dillahunty at times. Actually, I'm going to say, And let me bring this up. Let me bring it up again. Like the tweet here. Let me read it again. The null hypothesis is that no God exists. There is only theism and atheism. You are either convinced or you're not, period. Agnostic isn't some middle ground. It is about knowledge, which is a subset of belief, not a further. I mean, knowledge is a subset of belief, yeah. It absolutely is. Agnostic is a legitimate position. And I'm going to say, I think as an atheist activist, I think Matt does a bit of a disservice, actually, to and I think sometimes this is just a thought. This is just a thought of mine. They really, I think they want everyone to be in the camp of atheism, to boost the numbers of atheism. And I understand that's done for political reasons, for demographics reasons, and for ideological reasons. I sometimes feel that they'd be better off. Not everybody wants to identify with atheism. They're happy to because agnostic is a position, is a legit position. You're actually, I think you're pushing agnostics away from people, away as a demographic from people who would probably agree with a lot of your causes. Or just want to use the term non-theist or not, or no religion, no belief, whatever way they wish to use it. And as I said, I get really pissed off then when I've tried to argue with the people who use the lack belief thing, that I'm being prescriptivist, and I've heard this a fucking lot from people saying we're being prescriptive if we prefer or say that there's the thing that's used academically within philosophy. Because I'm not saying you've got to use this. I'm not saying you've got to use that definition. So don't tell me I've got to use your definition and then have the fucking nerve to tell me that I'm being prescriptivist when I use it the other way. Because I'm not telling you've got to do that. And I don't really know anyone who does, honestly. There might be one or two, I don't know, but it gets a bit. Yeah, Gary. I only went to the dark side. Yeah, it does, because I get a little pissed at this stuff at times. I do get a little bit pissed at this, and it does wind me up, and it winds me up because, like I said, Matt Dillahunty's not a dumb guy. He knows these topics. And I don't think he's being. I think he's picking ideology over reason a lot of the time now. It is, it is an ideological position, and I think it is off-putting to a lot of people. And I'm actually a little bit surprised by some of the positive feedback I've been getting in the chat thus far, because I think maybe there is a bit of a change happening now, because I think when I started on here, you'd have been roasted as an atheist for you've been told to hand in your fucking atheist card if you criticise Dillahunty. So I do think there's a bit of a. This is kind of why I made the joke at the beginning. Come watch me destroy my channel in real fucking time here. Lose all my subscribers. So that's all I've really got, to be honest, for today. I may possibly, I see how I feel, I might stream a bit later today and just have a hangout or something, because I'm not that fussed about the Queen's Jubilee, honestly. So maybe I might have a non-Jubilee stream. I don't know. So, okie doke. This has been Jeff, aka Godless Scummer. Yeah, Gary. I understand Matt is entertainment. There is, there's definitely arguments you can learn from him, but I also feel a lot of the time, I can't watch the fucking Atheist Experience I can't fucking watch the Atheist Experience anymore. I just can't. So yeah, non-Jubilee sounds good. I might do that. I might do that a little later, Claire, or something. Hour or so. We just get this. I don't know. I'll see how I feel. I'm gonna rest up for a little while first, and I'll see how I feel. Yeah, I do. I miss Tracy Harris off of there as well. I think she was a good counterbalance to Matt a lot of the time as well. You know, I just can't watch. But then, to be honest, I don't watch a lot of the call-in. The only one I might watch is Eric and V now and again. They're the only ones that I can kind of really watch with the call-in shows. So, you know. Okay. See you guys later. Salute.